Hello everyone. In the last lecture we saw that principal component analysis can be used for dimension reduction and it can also be used for unsupervised classification and regression. Okay. So today we will see some mathematical details of principal component analysis. So we will basically derive the formula for the principal component and then the variances of principal components, etc. Okay. So let me introduce a few notations. So let x be a p cross 1 vector in which we are interested. So x is my uh, original vector. So say for example x1 is height, x2 is weight, x3 is age and so on. Okay, so x be an original vector. So we have collected data on this vector x. So we have many observations corresponding to these variables. And now we have to construct principal components from this x. We also saw that principal components are going to be nothing but linear combinations of the components of x, correct? So we want to find a linear combination of x, means a linear combination L prime x, where L is some constant vector in Rp such that variance of L prime x is maximum among what? So maximum among all possible linear combination. But there is one slight problem. Suppose you come up with some L such that your claim is that variance of that L prime x is maximum. What is variance of L prime x? We saw in our preliminary lectures that this would be L prime sigma x L if sigma x is variance of your original vector x. Okay. Now, suppose a is some constant which is greater than 1. Okay. Then what would be variance of a L prime x? Variance of a L prime x would be, a is a scalar, a is some constant, right? A is a real number. So, a L prime is actually again a vector of same dimension. So, variance of a L prime x would be a L prime sigma x L a, because a is scalar, so transpose doesn't matter. So, this is a square L prime sigma x L, correct? And because a is greater than 1, a square would be greater than 1. So, this quantity would be greater than L prime sigma L, which means that even though I was claiming that variance of L prime x is highest, now AL is another vector such that variance of AL prime x is larger than variance of L prime x. And I can actually continue this exercise. So if I take variance of a square L prime x, it would be further large. So there is no end to it. Okay. Hence, we cannot really find a linear combination which has maximum variance in the current scenario. Okay, got the problem? Because variance is affected by change of scale, if you just change the scale of that linear combination, if you multiply that linear combination by a constant larger than 1, variance will go on increasing. Okay, so that's kind of rescaling and it's meaningless. So instead of saying that we have to maximize variance over entire L prime x, what we say that we maximize variance of L prime x subject to the condition that L prime L is equal to 1. Okay, so we kind of consider only unit vectors, okay, and we try to maximize variance of L prime x, means we try to find a linear combination with maximum variation, but we also put this condition that we try to maximize only among unit vectors. Okay, so that this problem of unnecessarily inflating variance by changing scale won't be there, because now I can't multiply by a, because as soon as I multiply by a, the property of L being unit vector would be gone, because its L prime L would become a square, okay, which is not 1. Hence, now this is a more formal definition of principal component. So principal component, this is a more formal definition of principal component. So principal component would be that L prime x, that linear combination which has maximum variance among all vectors which satisfy this condition. Okay. Now that we have a mathematically clear definition, let us try to find L. Okay. So our aim is to find L in Rp such that variance of L prime x is maximized among all L satisfying L prime L equal to 1. This is my aim. Okay. So what do you do whenever you want to maximize something? When you want to maximize something, you can go for Lagrange's multiplier, correct? And we have a constraint. So we want to maximize variance of L prime x. Variance of L prime x will be L prime sigma L subject to the constraint L prime L equal to 1. Okay. So let me define the quantity S as L prime sigma L minus, let me take the constraint as lambda. Okay. And we have L prime L minus 1. Okay, we can take the constraint as lambda into L prime L minus 1. You remember Lagrange's multiplier? You convert the constraint into the form where your right hand side is 0. Okay, and then you have it with a constant. Okay, this can be minus or plus, it doesn't matter. Lambda would take care of that. Okay, now how do you solve this as per Lagrange's multiplier? You differentiate this with respect to the unknown thing. So whatever you want to maximize, so differentiate this with respect to L. What do you get? So derivative of this quantity with respect to L. Now you have to remember how derivatives are computed for matrices and vectors. Okay, so if someone remembers, then this would be 2 sigma L. Okay, because it's kind of like L square sigma, so its derivative will be 2L sigma, but not exactly that, so it's 2 sigma L. Okay, because you have to have a compatible multiplication, etc. Minus lambda will remain as it is. L prime L, derivative of L prime L would become 2L. Okay, 1 doesn't contribute. And of course you have to differentiate with respect to lambda, and you will get the constraint back, that is L prime L minus 1. So that's okay. So now if I equate this to 0, what do I get? So equating this to 0, I get something. So let me write it down. So I have sigma L equal to lambda L. Of course this is vector, yeah. Sigma L equal to lambda L. Does this ring any bells? Lambda is constant, so does this look familiar? See, when you studied eigenvalues and eigenvectors in linear algebra, if say A is an eigenvalue of a matrix A and X is the corresponding eigenvector, then what is the formula? You have Ax equal to small a into x, correct? So we are in a similar setup. My A matrix is now sigma matrix, small a is lambda and L vector is there. Therefore, L is an eigenvector of sigma. Okay, L is sigma is a symmetric matrix, right? L is an eigenvector of sigma with or corresponding to an eigenvalue lambda. Corresponding to an eigenvalue lambda. Okay, now I have one more concern. First of all, we want L prime L to be 1. So I can't say this is any eigenvector. This has to be a normed eigenvector. So L should be a normed eigenvector because we want L prime L to be 1. So we have to take care of that. Okay. And now secondly, sigma is a P cross P matrix. So it is going to have P eigenvalues and then corresponding P eigenvectors. So which one do I choose? Okay. Now there comes our original thing in picture. So we said that we want to maximize L prime sigma L. So now we have to choose that eigenvalue which would give me largest value of L prime sigma L. Now what is value of L prime sigma L? Now that we have established that sigma L is lambda L, I can write L prime sigma L as L prime lambda L. Okay, I am just using the fact that sigma L is lambda L. So this is lambda into L prime L, which is 1. So this is simply lambda. So variance of L prime x would be lambda, that is the corresponding eigenvalue. If L is an eigenvector, then variance of L prime x will be the corresponding eigenvalue. Okay. So what do? We choose that eigenvalue which is largest because we want to maximize variance. Correct. Therefore, the first principal component can be obtained by using the normed eigenvector corresponding to the largest eigenvalue of sigma x. Okay, corresponding to the largest eigenvalue of sigma x, because by that way this would become highest. Okay, now I have a homework for you. So if you have understood this derivation, then homework is to find a formula for second principal component. Okay, find a formula for second principal component. So you have to go in exact similar fashion. The only thing is now you also have first principal component already in picture. So your new vector should be orthogonal to this original L. Okay, and the answer that you are going to get is it's going to be a normed eigenvector corresponding to the second largest eigenvalue of sigma. Okay, so in fact I don't know whether you noticed it, when R gives you eigenvalues and eigenvectors, it does arrange eigenvalues in the decreasing order. Okay, so you have lambda 1 greater than or equal to lambda 2 greater than or equal to lambda 3 and so on up to lambda p. And here says this is a variance coherence matrix, all these eigenvalues are going to be non-negative. Okay. So in fact this is the notation we are going to use otherwise also. So we are going to need this in factor analysis as well as canonical correlation analysis and so on. Okay, so generally when we say first eigenvalue, we would mean the largest eigenvalue. When we say second eigenvalue, generally we would mean second largest eigenvalue and so on. Okay. Okay, so this is how you will get principal component. So sigma x you can have for your data. If you don't have, you can estimate it from the data. You know how to estimate it, right? Variance coherence matrix, we know diagonal entries are variances, off diagonal entries are covariances. So you can estimate variances and covariances from the data. So you get an estimate of variance coherence matrix. Once you have that matrix, you can carry out eigenanalysis on that matrix, and the normed eigenvector corresponding to the largest eigenvalue will give you coefficients for the first PC. Coefficients, okay, remember PC is a linear combination. Okay, every principal component is a linear combination where the coefficients would be taken from the corresponding eigenvector. Everyone okay with this? Okay, so here we proved that variance of the first principal component is same as the largest eigenvalue, and in general variance of any principal component would be same as the eigenvalue corresponding to that number when they are arranged in the decreasing order. Okay, so variance of third PC would be lambda 3 and so on. Okay, but what about covariances? So let L1, L2 up to LP be eigenvectors corresponding to lambda 1, lambda 2 up to lambda p, where lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda p follow this order. Then I want to find covariance of L1 prime x and L2 prime x. So if you have solved the question bank, you know that covariance of these quantities would be given by L1 prime covariance of x L2. Okay, this is one of the exercises in question bank 1. So this would be L1 prime covariance of x with itself is variance, so sigma x L2. Now we also know that L2 is an eigenvector, so sigma L2 would actually be same as lambda 2 L2. Am I right? So this would be lambda 2 L1 prime L2, and because we are going to choose eigenvectors which are orthogonal to each other, L1 prime L2 would be 0. Hence, covariance between first PC and second PC is 0, and in general covariance between any ith and jth PC provided I is not equal to j would be 0. Thus, the principal components are uncorrelated. Okay. So if we use the notation y1 for first PC, that is L1 prime x, y2 for second PC and so on, yp for the pth PC, then few things to be noted. Every x contributes to every PC, right? Entire x vector is present in every PC. Of course, some of the coefficients may be very small, so their contribution may be very low, but it's there. Then variance covariance matrix of y would be variance of y1 is lambda 1, variance of y2 is lambda 2 up to lambda p, and all the covariances are 0. Okay, so variance covariance matrix of the principal components would be a diagonal matrix with diagonal entries as the eigenvalues of the original variance covariance matrix of the original data. Okay. There are two more important concepts: total variation, okay, and generalized variance or generalized variation. What do I mean by that? This can be called as variance also. See, in univariate setup, variance is a single number. In multivariate setup, we are saying variance is a matrix. So of course people would like to have some simplified form. So people started thinking, can we summarize that matrix by a single number? Okay, so we have a variance covariance matrix. Can we summarize that matrix by a single number? So two obvious choices come into picture. First is, because variances are along the diagonal, off diagonal entries are covariances. So if we ignore covariances and just focus on variances, then we can take trace. Trace is sum of diagonal elements. So trace of a matrix is one number which can represent that matrix, and another is determinant. Determinant would take care of covariances also. So trace of sigma is known as total variance, because it is addition of variances, and generalized variance is determinant of sigma. Okay. Now, an interesting property of principal component analysis is it retains both total and generalized variance. Okay, PCA retains total and generalized variance. Okay. PCA retains both total and generalized variance. How does it do that? See, we just now saw the variance covariance matrix of principal components. So trace of that, trace of sigma y, if y is PCs, is summation of lambda is, because trace of sigma y is summation of lambda is, because lambda is are the diagonal elements, correct? And we also know that trace of any matrix in general is sum of its eigenvalues, and lambda i's are eigenvalues of sigma x. So this is same as trace of sigma x. Are you following? Lambda is are eigenvalues of sigma x. So in general, by properties of matrices, trace of sigma x would be sum of lambda i's, and lambda i's are diagonal entries of sigma y. So trace of sigma y is summation lambda i's. Okay. So trace of sigma y is same as trace of sigma x. And now determinant of sigma y, again, because determinant of a diagonal matrix is product of its diagonal entries, it is this, and trace of determinant of any other matrix in general is product of its eigenvalues. So determinant of sigma x is also same as product of lambda is. Hence, PCA retains both total and generalized variance. So this is one of the very important properties of principal component analysis. Okay. Okay. Now there is one more small point, important but small. So we did all these things with covariance matrix, but in earlier lecture, one of the preliminary lectures, we said that correlation matrix is also kind of a covariance matrix. The only difference is correlation matrix is a covariance matrix of scaled variables. Am I right? So sometimes you can carry out PCA based on correlation matrix also. Everything else will remain exactly the same. Okay, you will have same formula. So instead of carrying out eigenanalysis of covariance matrix, we will go for eigenanalysis of correlation matrix. Okay. But why do we need this? See, we said that principal component is a linear combination. So I have L11x1 plus first principal component if L1 is an eigenvector corresponding to the largest eigenvalue. So L2 is an eigenvector corresponding to second largest, and so on. Now if so these L11, L12, L1p, all these are constants, right? So if x1, x2, xp all are expressed in the same units, then fine, you can add these and it makes sense. So if suppose all of these are say lengths of something, then it's okay. But as we said initially, if suppose this is height and this is weight, then this reading is going to be in say centimeters, this reading is going to be in say kilograms, then adding centimeters to kilogram is not possible. Correct? It's nonsensical. So in such cases, so whenever units of the original variables are different, we go for PCA based on correlation matrix. Okay. Why? Because correlation matrix would give me covariances of scaled variables. Once the variables are scaled, they are free from the units. So scaling means what? You do x minus mu by sigma. So because x has some unit and sigma is going to have same unit, the unit would get cancelled. Okay. Hence, whenever you have variables which are having different units, then we go for PCA based on correlation matrix instead of PCA based on covariance matrix. Is it clear what I am saying? Okay. So what we have learned today is how to compute principal components from the given data. As I said, if the variance coincidence matrix is known, correlation matrix would also be known. In that case, you use eigen analysis of that matrix. If it is not known, you estimate it from the sample and you carry out eigen analysis of that matrix. Okay. Okay. So today we will stop here. We have many other things remaining about PCA. For example, how does it help in dimension reduction, etc. So we'll continue with that in the next lecture. Okay. Thank you.